Today's message is on 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 22, and it's about how to get people to follow the religion. You have to become like one of them. So then I will read the verse. To me, it reflects how to gain followers is be like one of them. We'll start with verse 19. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. 20. To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law. And this is in parentheses. Though I myself am not under the law, so to win those under the law. 21. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law. And this is also in parentheses. Though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law. And then it goes on without the parentheses, so as to win those not having the law. 22. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. So for me, this is more about how you do not try to suffocate a culture to force and try to force them into the religion. This is all right. As I was saying, I believe it's to not force your culture, try to force a change, make them exactly like one of you. So basically, a site agrees with that on me, so I'm going to read from that site now. And this is, it says godquestions.org, all things to all people, HTML. I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to skip around to what I'm talking about. He had to change his approach when needed, it's mentioning. And they're saying it's not an excuse to live worldly lives. Okay. Some of their, this is what I wanted to skip to, the chart. They have a listen, be kind, be sensitive to culture. So this is the one I'm really on here. It's like, to reach a cultural group, they have to understand the particulars of the culture. But what it was saying before is you don't have to be their religion to be like one of them, but you have to be like one of them to get them to follow this religion. You can't just force it on them. And there's another one, deal with prejudice. But basically, that's their list, and I was mostly about, I do understand the listen and be kind and the dealing with prejudice, but be sensitive to culture is my main focus here. So what I'm going to tell you about it is that When the settlers first came to America, another history lesson of mine for you. They came and they tried to basically assimilate everyone to the religion. Things like grabbing people and forcing them to go to their school or something. I heard that was something that they took some of them by force and put them in a school and tried to make them wear their kind of clothes, behave like them. And I'm really not seeing that it's in line with the Bible, because you're not really supposed to force your ways on others. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to be like one of them. So maybe it would be like hanging out on the reservation, maybe wearing clothes like them, trying to get their attention, and you're not like destroying everything that they know. And I don't know. I'm not sure if they would understand about. You might want to even try to make something similar to the things that they do. They see what they called this settler thing was kind of a hardship, because there was even suggested abuses and people dying at these schools and being buried there. So they weren't always the nicest schools, even though it's good to reach out and give them an education. Trying to be mean to them and force them to be like them was not an ideal thing. So, and you don't have to, they didn't have to force people to be like them. And then to make them understand Christ. But then later, we have people now in America that want everybody to be American, to assimilate to the culture, to talk like everyone else, not use their native languages or whatever. But according to the Bible, Christians shouldn't be doing that either, forcing people to speak English or and abandoning their culture. So what I'm saying is be respectful, be kind, listen to them. If they like certain ways of doing things, you could probably, if you want them to concentrate on God, well, you could use their kind of clothing, and if it's like Native Americans, you could do beadwork in the form of crosses, or you know, or do things with beads to spell out Bible verses. If they're willing to accept the religion, you don't, like I said, you don't force it on them. If they're cool with it, you can do a lot of things that blend their culture with the religion. That happened earlier on, that they encompassed some things like certain times a year and turned it into a more a Christian festival so people wouldn't do pagan things. But really, what you should do is, before you force on other people your ways, you got to try to understand them, and you can't just make them do whatever you want. You have to kind of be friends. And that's about it. That's what I'm trying to get out of my message. Don't force the religion on people. You have to sometimes you have to ease people into it, teach them the ways, and be good to them, and then they'll respond better. But there is always that verse when there's people who are contentious and don't want to listen. There's a verse that says what you should do. You just shake the dust off of your feet, or from that town, and leave it, and let it up to God what to do with it. And that's what it says in the Bible, and that's all you got to do. You don't try to force anything on anyone. And I read the Bible verses in the video, from BibleGateway.com. And I'll put the exact link in the credits for both sites I've used today. And I want to thank you for listening to my short message. I know last week's was a little longer. See you next time. Yeah, this is this is totally.